On a Saturday afternoon after a Venmo transfer of over $2,000 and a cryptic message to her daughter which read, "They won't let me go. There is a key to the house underneath the flower pot." Her body was found about an hour away from her home in the woods, partially burnt, and about 15 minutes from this Family Dollar store where this surveillance video shows Debbie buying a blue tarp, a poncho, paper towels, and a lighter. Tonight, the shocking results of the autopsy. But first, new information in the horrific stabbing murders of 4 University of Idaho students found dead in their off-campus home. Police have now put together a timeline of where the victims were that night. Will this new information produce new leads as the search for this killer continues? Also tonight, new information from the coroner concerning cause and manner of death. How many times were these students stabbed, and what type of knife was used? Court TV is live from Idaho tonight with the latest in this investigation as the campus empties out and authorities continue to look for evidence.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And it's Friday night. It's the Friday night before a holiday week. You know, next week is Thanksgiving. And for so many folks, when you think of Thanksgiving, you get excited, right? You know, you got family coming in from different parts, maybe cousins, aunts, or siblings, or children you haven't seen in a while, and you all get together. You try not to talk about politics. Have some turkey, watch some football, and just enjoy each other. Now, take a moment and think about what this Thanksgiving is going to be like for 4 families. The families of Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. This is going to be a brutal holiday. Absolutely brutal. You know, when you have your children away in college, and Thanksgiving usually is that first time when they come back, right? They've been gone maybe since August or early September. You talk to them on the phone, you get updates, but now, you know, they come home, you get to see them, and maybe they get to see some of their friends as well. It's an amazing homecoming when you're coming back from college. But these 4 students aren't coming home, and their families have no answers, and their families are hurting. You know, you send your children away to college, you're getting them ready for the rest of their lives, and that's just not the case for these 4 families in Idaho. So at the university, students are going home. Now, some obviously going home, or all going home for Thanksgiving. A lot of them, though, leaving early because there's a killer who hasn't been caught. Someone who went into a home, it's an off-campus home, but it's right next to the campus. I mean, it's near a whole bunch of homes where students stay. And you get 4 people stabbed to death, murdered. So students clearing out, but now they're gonna go home. And what do you think's gonna be on their mind and their families' minds? Like, you know, wow. What is happening at the University of Idaho? Who could possibly be responsible? Why would they do this? And will they ever catch this person? And the reason I say that is when you think about the investigation, we are beyond the first 48 hours. And we know in any murder investigation how important those first 48 hours are. Many times the arrest comes like that. The evidence comes together very quickly. And when it doesn't, you worry a little bit. You absolutely do. How many stories, mysteries, cases are we covering right here that have gone unsolved? Sometimes inexplicably, because you think there's evidence, video, whatever, and you can't gather enough evidence to make the arrest and charge someone for the murder, which means a murderer walks free. So let's get the latest tonight. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who is live in Moscow, Idaho tonight. Chanley, great to see you. I have a bunch of questions for you, but I know you're with someone right now. So why don't you take it over from now. Chanley, you're at the scene, right? You're in front of the home?
Yes. Yes, I'm standing in front of the crime scene, Vinny, that's roped off with police tape. A very active scene still right now with investigators collecting things inside, putting them in the vehicles. And I just ran into one of the neighbors of the victims in this case. This is Luca. Luca, this has been very shocking news for your community. And as a neighbor here, what is it like to be so close to where such a brutal murder took place?
Well, ever since moving here, you know, Moscow's been such a safe community, and it's all you ever hear, you know, is people talking about how safe it is and how nice it is to feel safe. Right. But so I just never expected something like this to happen, and you know, since it has happened, we're just shocked. I just feel like since something like this hasn't happened, you know, maybe our police aren't equipped, and since the FBI is here, I feel like that's such a blessing and, you know, a real hope, you know.
Sure. And there's still a suspect or suspects at large here. As a community member, someone so close, I've talked to several people. Some feel safe, some don't feel safe. What are you feeling?
Well, I mean, I do have trust in the investigators and everything, but I bike to work, you know, me and my boyfriend, and, you know, driving by, it's just like this deep, depressing, like, reminder, like, you know, they're still at large and whatever.
Sure. And you said that you didn't personally know any of the victims that lived in this home, but you were familiar because you're neighbors with them, right? You could hear coming and going. Tell about this area. It's usually safe, right?
Yeah. Coming home from work at nights, you know, you see everyone walking from party to party, having fun, you know, and it's just such a stark contrast now, you know.
Well, thank you so much, Luca, for your time. I know it's cold out here. I'll let you go get warm again, but thank you for sharing with us more insights from this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's really the sense I've been getting, Vinny. I've been on the campus speaking to those that work there and that are going to school there, and they echo the fact that many people have left town, especially students on campus, but they're hoping for more and more information, which we are slowly learning. There's information that the police just posted on their Facebook page. I just lost it on my screen, but we're learning some details about the murders. They're confirming several things to us, in that the 4 victims were stabbed multiple times. Sorry, well, bear with me 1 second. Have it here.
Even though this is a developing scene, information is coming out minute by minute from investigators. So as they release this information, and we're looking at some of the video that you all shot, and you can see they're still dusting for prints at the scene. You know, this is almost a week later, but still the investigation continues. We've got the forensic unit there. And what this tells me is they don't have a suspect right now. I can't imagine that they have someone in mind, even if they're not telling us, based upon the fact that they are still digging for fingerprints at this point. So, Chanley, why don't you give us an idea of what the latest is at the scene? It looks like is there still activity going on there tonight? It looks like it's rather busy.
It is very busy. There's media, of course, here from all over the nation covering this. There's security, of course, at the home here as well. And like you said, yes, we've seen them dusting for fingerprints. We've observed the investigators taking out things from the home. And we've also observed from the back of the home blood seeping from what looked like through the back walls of the home. We are learning from the investigators that the 4 victims were likely asleep, that some had defensive wounds, Vinny, stabbed multiple times. There was also no sign of sexual assault, according to authorities, confirming that. The detectives believe that the 2 surviving roommates, or the man that we've seen in that viral food truck video, were involved in the crime. So they've eliminated them as a part of this. And they're also debunking some of those online reports or rumors we've been hearing about. The victims were not tied or gagged. They say that's not accurate. But they won't identify the person who called 911. They also are revealing that they searched not only this home, but the area here in this neighborhood, the dumpsters to my left and my right were also searched. They confiscated items from them, and they've contacted local businesses to determine if this fixed blade knife had been recently purchased that they think is the murder weapon, which has not been recovered as of right now. And I want to show you more of the crime scene behind me. I know it's dark now, Vinny, but behind me there, you can see the door of the home, which the investigators have been bringing out boxes. I mean, huge boxes. Oh, you could just see a flash. They're still taking photos inside. I don't know if you saw that on the second floor there. We're learning by reports, other reports, CNN reporting the bodies were found on the second and third floor, Vinny. So I see photo flashes going off on the second floor window right now. So they're inside there working. On the front door, when they responded to this home last Sunday, was found open, even though I can see that the door handle has some security code numbers. Like you would have to punch in numbers on that door to access the inside of the home, but that door was found open. We also are learning that these are the victims' cars that are parked still here in front of the home. I'm going to send it back to you. I think I may have lost you.
No,
Vinny.
we're still here. Chanley, we are here. You may not be able to hear us, but unbelievable developments. I mean, let me go over what Chanley just reported. I believe the murders took place on the second and third floor. As I described to you last night here on the show, this is a 3-level house, 6 bedrooms, 3 bath, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on each floor. So second and third floors, they're taking pictures tonight. And we're also learning asleep while they were killed. Let me bring in another guest while Chanley gets reconnected to us. Joining us from Boise, Idaho, investigative reporter with the Idaho Statesman, Kevin Fixler, back with us. Idaho Statesman doing incredible work on this story, by the way. Kevin, let me just go over what Chanley went over. I just want to confirm this because I think this is huge in terms of a development of finding out how 4 people could be killed by 1 person with 1 knife. Are you hearing as well, and is that your interpretation that they believe the victims were asleep?
Yes, Latah County Coroner Kathy Mabbitt appeared in a TV network interview last night where she stated just that.
And Chanley just talking about, as Chanley was reporting to us, you could see the flashes going off as they're still taking pictures in that second floor. So it's the second and third floor is where we believe the murders took place. Are you hearing that as well?
I think you're a little ahead of me on that. That's actually not a piece of information that I've heard or, that we have independently confirmed. As you noted, the Moscow Police Department just about an hour ago put out some new information. About an hour. So I'm actually still digesting that myself, as your correspondent was as well.
Okay, let's get to some other things here that are significant. The sister of Kaylee has been speaking out and providing some more information, I believe. Is there information about phone calls that may have been made after they returned home from the bars and the food truck?
Yeah, I've seen that report as well. And again, we're starting to see the family members start to do more interviews and try to either clear the record or speak more about their family members, the victims in this case. And there apparently is a phone log where her sister had made several phone calls to a gentleman. We don't know yet what the relationship was. It was after 2 a.m. and almost up until 3 a.m. or what her sister reported.
2 to 3. It doesn't leave a long time for them to fall asleep and be. This is not necessarily making sense. But and one other question I had for you, Kevin, about the neighbors. Are there any videos from neighbors, maybe like a Ring video or something that anyone is talking about? I mean, you go around my neighborhood, you're going to get picked up by video all the way down the street. But these are college kids, so I don't know.
Yeah, Kaylee Gonkov's sister also said that she spoke to a neighbor who had a Ring camera. And the reason why she has presented that information is because she is of the belief that her sister had taken an Uber home with Maddie Mogan from the local bar. And she said that she has spoken to the neighbor, at least seen that footage, which we have not, but reports that she did see the Uber vehicle arrive back home. So that should, if true, take the Uber driver out of the equation as far as a potential suspect or person of interest.
All right. Things are developing minute by minute. Kevin Fixler, investigative reporter, Idaho Statesman, thanks so much. We'll be speaking to you again next week. When we come back, we'll reconnect with Chanley Painter, and we'll bring in our investigators plus coming up next hour.
In Los Angeles, California, that 70s show sitcom star Danny Masterson, accused of raping 3 women from the Church of Scientology, is facing a potential life sentence if convicted on all charges. All the evidence is in, and it's time to hear from the jury.
Everybody was there, and we had dinner. Next thing you know, the last 2 bullets went directly in my head.
These are the stories.
It's a crime of passion.
Of the victims killed.
How could this have happened?
By someone they knew.
I really screwed up.
Someone they knew with Tamron Hall. Thanksgiving Marathon begins Thanksgiving Day, 11/10 Central, only on Court TV.
We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonkovs inside the residence on King Road. The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time.
We've got some developing news out of Idaho. Investigators still on the scene tonight. Looks like they are still at work inside the home where those 4 students were murdered. And Chanley Painter, Court TV legal correspondent, is just outside there. Chanley, I know we lost you a moment ago, but we've got you back now. What is happening in the home behind you? What are you seeing, and what are you observing?
Vinny, investigators have been here literally all day long. I'm going to step out of the way so that my photographer can kind of zoom in and show you some of these aspects. We've been seeing them, of course, come in and out of the back of the house, the front of the house, bringing items into their vehicles in front here. There's been a police officer on duty all day long. He was outside. Now he's sitting inside his police car, making sure nobody crosses the police tape here. We just witnessed on the 2nd story window, and again, it's been reported that 2 of the victims were located on the 2nd floor of this home, 2 on the 3rd floor of this home. We could see in the window with the blinds flashes like investigators or crime scene investigators were taking photos of the scene. So that very well could be a room where 1 or more of the bodies were located. It's so somber to be here and in this area, and not just on this front of the house, the back of the house today. Vinny, we were witnessing investigators dust for fingerprints on a window pane near the back glass sliding door. So there's access to the back there, very open. The front door, as I mentioned, when the police did respond to this home, was open. However, they reported they had no signs of any sort of forced entry into the home, which profound, it just makes this even more of a mystery. But I also want to point out that when trying to drive up to this home, Vinny, it's a very winding road up a hill through many different buildings and streets and apartment buildings. You have to know where you're going to reach this multi-level home where 6 students lived. And that's, again, these sort of corroborates what we've been hearing from investigators. They believe that this was a targeted attack, which makes sense to me because there are people that are living all around here. Just would really makes sense to me being here on the ground now, why they believe it was targeted, in that not everyone in the home was murdered. And there's plenty of other places they could have stopped on down the hill on a busy road. So you had to really know where you're going to get up here. So that's something I wanted to point out here on the scene.
And this is Friday night. And, you know, we're almost a week after these horrific murders took place, and they are still today, tonight, behind you, still going through the house and trying to determine what's happening.
They are all day long, still trying to determine what happened. Still an active investigation. No murder weapon has been found. They've been searching and collecting items from the dumpsters here on the streets. And, you know, this latest information from the police is really confirming a lot of new details that we did not know before. This is a community, I know I just spoke to someone, a neighbor here, that it does seem on edge. He says that usually this home and other homes, that this is like, it's a party street, Minnie. It's college. This university is literally steps to my left here where Fraternity Row is, where two of the victims were partying just hours before their death. He said it's usually more active than it is right now. A lot of people have left town, of course. Extra security we've been seeing across this area as well.
All right, I want to bring some investigators into this conversation right now. Joining us tonight in Monroe, North Carolina, death investigator, forensic criminologist Dr. Laura Pettler is with us, and in Salt Lake City, Utah, private investigator Jason Jensen. Dr. Laura Pettler, I'm going to begin with you. You know, there's Chanley. Behind her, they're still working tonight. This is Friday night. What's going on here? What does that tell you about this investigation, if they're still taking pictures tonight of the crime scene?
So, you know what, Vinny, there's a lot actually going on with a scene like this. First of all, you have 4 victims as opposed to your typical scene that has 1. So there's going to be, because it was a stabbing scene and there's a knife involved that has not been found, there's layers typically of blood spatter. There can be layers depending on the various locations throughout the house. So a lot of times it takes a long time to reconstruct those movements of what the blood is saying. So, you know, this is the type of offender that usually brings a weapon to the scene, usually walks to and from the scene, usually is right under your nose, very close by.
Jason Jensen, you know, I don't know if it's a simple, obviously at this point it's not a simple investigation. But this is Friday night. We're still gathering forensic evidence from inside and outside of the home. It seems to me that tells me that they don't know who did this. There's a killer on the loose, Jason.
No, and you're right, Vinny. They don't know who it is yet, so they really have to get as much evidence, collect as much information that they can before they really pinpoint to somebody, because there's so much activity in a sorority home like this that, you know, you don't know how many people come and go. So just because you get a print doesn't mean that's the print of the killer. So they're going to collect as much and everything that they can possible before they start eliminating.
All right, Chanley, I want to go through the headlines again for people just joining us. These are huge headlines that you gave us. The roommates, the young man who was seen in that food truck video, and where these victims, they believe these victims were when they were murdered.
Yeah, Vinny, these are huge confirmations from the police. The 2 other roommates who lived here at this home, they've eliminated them as, of course, any sort of suspects. They've been cooperative. And that mysterious young man that we see on the viral food truck video that had a lot of speculation surrounding him has also been ruled out as a suspect. So they're really trying to answer some of the questions that we haven't had answered for several days with this latest update from the Moscow Police Department. And we're also learning again in the house crime scene behind us, based on where these investigators are taking photos and bringing out evidence, and where we see blood seeping through the walls, that is still very active. The bodies were found on the 2nd and the 3rd floor is what is being reported here.
Chanley, can I cut you off there for just a second, Chanley?
Sure, yes.
Second and third floor, you've seen this house, you've walked around it as best you can with the crime scene tape. Can you enter the second floor from the outside, or can you only enter the first floor of this home?
You can enter the second floor from behind. So, you know, if my photographer wants to zoom in again on the home, it's one of these that the first floor here where I'm standing is kind of like a basement floor almost. So the backyard would be entering on the second level where the sliding glass door would be, and where the authorities were dusting again for fingerprints on the window pane next to that glass sliding door is what we witnessed earlier. So, Vinny, yes, there would be entrance from here, this front door, which again has the security padlock on the door handle, but the authorities found this door wide open when they responded that day. And then it would be the sliding door on the second level in the backyard.
Dr. Laura Pettler, so again, what we're learning tonight, the victims on the second and third floor may have been sleeping. That's what they're thinking. That's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me. If you've got 4 people, 1 person, 1 knife, they're sleeping. But if you've got a couple of bedrooms on each of the 3 levels, the other 2 roommates could have been in the basement.
Yes, they could have been. And the fact that the victims are sleeping, apparently, according to reports, and the fact that there is a targeted attack at this specific house where there's lots of houses full of people. And when you have this kind of a homicide, it's very likely it's an anger retaliatory type of an event. And these specific victims are people that are known to the offender. And it's very easy for an offender to come into a house like this. They are familiar with the area, familiar maybe with the house, and then they're able to attack the victim sleeping, which makes them technically incapacitated already. So then while that attack goes on, it's creating a multitude of different types of forensic opportunity. So the police department, I'm very grateful to see them still there and taking every measurement, taking every photograph, taking every piece of potential evidence, because there are so many people going in and out. You're going to have so much DNA and fingerprints that is forensically insignificant here. There's a tremendous amount of control that has to go on, because you're going to have to get samples from everybody and then start eliminating people, you know, with the DNA and stuff. So it's just a lot, Vinny. It's just a tremendous undertaking. It's very daunting for these investigators, and it doesn't surprise me at all that they're still there, you know, several days later. They should be there, and I'm glad to see that they are.
You're looking at live pictures, folks. This is the home where the 4 college students from the University of Idaho were murdered. Investigators working into the night. This is Friday. This murder took place early morning hours of Sunday. This gives you some idea of the complexity of that murder scene inside this 3-level, 6-bedroom, 3-bath home. We just saw flashlights over in this area. Jason Jensen, this crime scene has to be incredibly complex. So there could be forensic evidence there, but if the killer isn't in some data bank, his or her DNA is not going to help us. It can confirm it for trial, but in catching a killer who's on the loose, it seems to me if there was someone was targeted here, you're going to have to investigate what was going on in the lives of these 4 victims to find out who may have had some reason to be angry or out of control, jealous, whatever. That's what I'm thinking tonight, Jason.
Yes, Benny. I agree with you on that. What I see, to be honest, is not just so much being focused on the 4 victims. There were 6 residents there, and from what Dr. Laura was just describing, for this assailant to come through the back sliding glass door where they're on the 2nd level, it's entirely possible that this killer did not actually engage with the intended victim, that the intended victim was one of the two survivors. He went through from the second floor, cleared that floor, went to the third floor, cleared that floor, then exited through the front door. He may have missed one of the two victims that he was intending to focus on. So I believe that all of the victims and all of their activities and who they've engaged with and encountered over their period of time there in Moscow should be relevant for this investigation before they make any final decisions.
All right, our coverage continues. We've got Chanley Painter live on the ground in Idaho. And these are live pictures again of the home where the murder took place. Investigators working into the night. We've got a lot more to cover. Don't go anywhere.
This horrible crime has affected all of us, the families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
It's a massive effort to try to solve this case and catch a killer. Chanley Painter, Court TV legal correspondent, is live outside that home in Moscow, Idaho. Chanley, any more activity in the house? You know, we broke for a couple of minutes. Things are moving moment by moment out there.
We just actually witnessed through the open window behind me to my right, Vinny, crime scene investigators in hazmat suits still working hours later. We've been here nearly all day. They've been working. We've witnessed some flashes, like photo flashes, coming through both of the second-story windows. And then now we're seeing through the open window them walking through, it looks like maybe a hallway or something, in their crime scene gear. So still very much collecting evidence in this home. And many times officers leaving the front door, the back door, bringing just boxes. I just witnessed one that looked kind of like an ice chest. Maybe they collected something that needed to stay cold or some forensic type of evidence in a protected case. And then just big plastic boxes, putting them in the back of their vehicles. And they've been coming and going a lot throughout the day, maybe taking things, dropping it off, and then coming back and still working this very active scene going late into the night.
Okay, Chanley, we also heard information today involving the timeline for the victims. What can you tell us about that timeline?
Yeah, that was another big release from the Moscow Police Department here, not only issuing a timeline, but a map of the key locations of all four of the victims in the hours leading up to their brutal murders. We have from 8 to 9 p.m. This is November 12th. Just last Saturday, we have victim Ethan and victim Zana, his girlfriend, attending a Sigma Chi party. Not far, I mean, just walking distance from where I am, Vinny, just literally a block, maybe even less from where I am at their home. And then from 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., we have the victim, Kaylee and Maddie, at the Corner Club bar downtown Main Street, maybe a 6-7 minute drive from where I am at their home. And then around 1:40 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie are at that grub truck. This is a video that we've seen that's gone viral. They thought maybe one of the people there was a little suspicious. They've ruled him out. That's the new confirmation we received this evening. And then around 1:45 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie, Ethan and Zana, they're all here at this home. That's the timeline the police put together. And then they say that soon after that, maybe around 3 or 4 a.m. is when they were all brutally murdered, stabbed to death, likely in their sleep. Some had defensive wounds, Vinny, no sexual motivation here. We've just confirmed this evening, and 911 call was placed noon on Sunday. And again, these authorities started then, now almost a week, working this crime scene.
Jason Jensen, private investigator, we talk about this timeline. It's not a large window of time for that killer to be there, and the killer would have to perhaps know that they're sleeping. I mean, if you're going in to attack 1, 2, 3, or 4 people with one knife, maybe you're waiting for them to go to sleep?
Right. It's not too hard to figure that out, especially if you're surveilling the home at night. You just wait for the lights to turn out, and you know that people are going to bed. You wait a period of time, and then you figure they're asleep. So, yeah, any intruder, and I believe this is an intruder scenario, they're going to go in the house when it's dark, and that's a sign that they're all asleep.
Dr. Laura Pettler, death investigator, forensic criminologist. Are you convinced that this is a targeted attack? And if so, do you believe one person is targeted and the others just happen to be there? Is this possible that this could be a psychotic serial killer?
So, Vinny, I'm going to break that question apart so I can answer it in totality here. The first thing is to always remember that every murder meets the needs of the offender. So whatever the reason is, not only is the timeline specific that Shanley was just explaining to us, but the preceding conflict timeline that could go back 30 days, possibly, it could go back a week. That is actually a critical timeline too. The ante-mortem timeline that's within 7 days to 30 days. So that's the first piece. The time of day meets the needs of the offender. The weapon meets the needs of the offender. The scene is a reflection of his or her personality, and his emotionality is very clear. Blood is very slippery, and it's likely that a killer like this, who is stabbing multiple people or even one person, cuts him or herself and then bleeds liquid blood that is then mixed. And so all of that has to be sampled. And then when we talk about serial homicide, the definition means basically that a person is killed and then another person is killed at a different time. This is more of a mass killing consistent with the actual standardized definition, but could it be linked to other crimes, to other homicides? Yes. Does it have to be the same motive? No. Does it have to be same murder weapon? No, because serial killers change up their MO and their weapons all the time.
All right, live pictures from Idaho. Chanley Painter is going to rejoin us at the top of the hour. Jason Jensen, thank you so much for your insight tonight. Appreciate it. Dr. Laura Pettler is going to stay with us because we have a major development coming up in another case that we've been following out of North Georgia involving a mom named Debbie Collier. We'll get that report. Shocking results of that autopsy. Plus, coming up next hour.
On the docket tonight in Manchester, New Hampshire, Adam Montgomery facing charges for killing his daughter Harmony, who has been missing since 2019. Today, Adam's estranged wife takes a deal. Will she be the star witness against Adam?
You've come out and said that you believe it was suicide, correct?
Yes. No one saw her that day prior on Friday. There were actions. My mom was like giving away things that, now looking back on, I'm like, well, that was weird. Even when I seen her on Friday, because we hadn't seen each other in a minute, I saw tears in her eyes. I'd never seen her that sad.
That's Amanda Bearden. She is the daughter of Debbie Collier, the Georgia mom who was found dead in the woods, her body partially naked, partially burnt on a Saturday afternoon, went missing like an hour north of her home after stopping off at a Family Dollar store. Well, take a look. Her daughter believed that she died by suicide, and now we've gotten this information from the Habersham County Sheriff's Office. A detailed examination of all gathered information has enabled investigators to determine, based on factual evidence and data, that Mrs. Collier's death was self-inflicted. Furthermore, the GBI Medical Examiner's Office has determined that the cause of death was inhalation of superheated gases, thermal injuries, and hydrocodone intoxication, and that the manner of death was suicide. Unexpected, shocking, based upon the bizarre nature of everything that happened that day, including, remember that money she sent to her daughter with the cryptic message. Still with us, death investigator, forensic criminologist, Dr. Laura Pettler. And joining me by phone now in Clarksville, Georgia, reporter and publisher for NowHabersham.com, Joy Purcell, who was breaking this news. Joy, so break it down for us. Is this the final determination? Is this investigation over?
To the best of our knowledge, Vinny, yes. The conclusion that this was a suicide is firm in the mind of the coroner's office and, of course, the sheriff's investigators who released the information this afternoon. We've been given no indication that they're looking further into this matter.
And have you heard any reaction from any family member, anyone connected to Debbie? Have they responded or reacted to this determination? Have you seen or heard?
No, not since this was released. We broke this news yesterday when the report came out, the autopsy and toxicology reports, and reached out to Debbie's son, Jeffrey Bearden, who has been very vocal in his criticism of how this investigation has been handled. But Jeffrey has not responded to our request for comment. This has been, as you can imagine, an extremely trying time for the family. And one thing I'd like to mention here that Jeffrey shared with me when I spoke with him prior to these most recent events, Debbie had a brother who was murdered back in the 90s. So her family has gone through a similar situation, and this is just one more trauma on top of that, which has, for them, just accentuated the grief and brought back some terrible memories for them. And so I've not heard directly from Jeffrey. Amanda, as you shared, has spoken out publicly, and even before these results were released yesterday by the state medical examiner's office, she had already gone public and said that she believed that her mother committed suicide.
Dr. Laura Pettler, inhalation of superheated gases, thermal injuries, and hydrocodone intoxication. Explain that.
So, when people are around a fire or when they're around something that's burning, that's giving off those noxious type gases, of course, the inhalation is a huge problem for the human body, and it can cause the cessation of life. Typically in homicide, of course, the fire is used as a precautionary act to cover up a homicide. In this case, they're saying the manner of death is now ruled suicide based on what they're calling examination, as opposed to analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, which I think is important when you have an unequivocal death like this, where there's obviously a lot of people who are going to say, no, this is more consistent with a different manner of death, potentially homicide versus suicide. So the gases, the cause of death is one piece of the pie. There are several pieces of the pie that not only have to be examined, or another word for that would be analyzed, but they also have to be synthesized and evaluated in totality of all of the evidence, specifically tested against the victimology of Debbie Collier.
Let me ask you, we have about 30 seconds here. How unusual is this?
Fairly unusual. However, suicide is very impulsive sometimes. It's a misnomer that people think it always occurs during a major depressive episode. That's untrue. It can also occur during a manic episode, or very, very spontaneously and impulsively. There's plenty of research to support that, Vinny, in the science. So it's just a very tragic and unfortunate, sad situation for the Collier family.
Yeah, extremely tragic. And again, folks, Debbie Collier, it appears, died by suicide. The investigation is over. Despite the way this whole thing started, unusual circumstances, and investigators initially saying this was a targeted attack. But clearly they've come to a much different conclusion tonight. Joy Purcell, publisher, reporter, NowHabersham.com, who led the coverage of this story. Joy, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Dr. Laura Pettler working overtime for us tonight. Great to have your insight and your expertise.